Hi Luxury Home Show, my name's Sue. Welcome to my home in Shropshire. Let me show you around. So the house was really designed around this view. We always knew that the view of the Shropshire Hills was something that we wanted to bring into the house. The joy of building your own home is that you can create spaces that work for you. And for us, we didn't really want to waste these amazing views on a bedroom. And I think I mentioned to you before that on first glance, the kitchen does look quite pared back and plain, but it does have a few little surprises, and this is one of them. So we came across this 1980s bungalow and it was absolutely perfect. We fell in love with this plot and the surroundings, countryside, and knew it was the place to build the home that we wanted. So we've built a Scandi-inspired black-clad house. It's calm and restful and inviting and peaceful here. It may look quite dark on the outside, but inside is a very different story. It's all about connecting with the outdoors and the light that we have here. It's a slightly unusual build in that it wasn't a traditional build. We went with a SIPS build, which stands for structurally insulated panels. It's a very fast way of building, so the actual structure of the house went up in 9 days. It took us another 12 months to do all the finishings and the interiors, but at the end of the day, we've ended up with a beautiful house that fits the way we want to live, and it's sort of reimagined what was here before. So you may be wondering why the front of the house is actually the gable end of the house, and the reason for that is because the bungalow was on this orientation, and with planning restrictions that we had to use the base of that to build the current house. So we wanted to try and make it a little bit more exciting than just a plain gable end. And if you want to follow me down to the bottom here, I'll show you a little bit more about how we've done that and the materials that we've used on the house. So as you come a little bit closer to the house, you realise that it's not actually a painted timber, but this is Soshugiban, which is an ancient Japanese art of torching wood. And it gives a really nice texture to the woods. It brings all the grains out, but it's also really practical. It's fire resistant and really low maintenance, so it's a great material to use on the exterior. We've also used some black framing on a couple of the windows here just to add a little bit of interest and give it a bit more of a focal point rather than it just being a plain gable end. A large part of the design is the glazing, which allows the light to flood into the house. It might seem quite dark out here, but inside it's light-filled, calm, tranquil space. So let me take you inside and show you. So we wanted to design a house, a Scandi-inspired house that was warm and calm and inviting, a place to relax and enjoy the surroundings. And for us, it's all about the surroundings and that connection with the outdoors here. So we've got light-filled spaces everywhere throughout the house. Every room has a view, and it's about connecting and blurring those boundaries between outside and inside. So as we go through the house, you'll see that there's lots of spaces that are light-filled and bright. So we wanted to keep this through view and not block that in any way. So rather than going for a solid door, we've gone with a Crittles style door, which is great. It keeps the sound levels down, which was a problem before. But instead of blocking the view, we've still got that through view. So we're constantly keeping that connection with outdoors all of the time. And if we don't want it closed, it just sits open there and we don't even notice it. I love the fact that we've gone with the Crittles style, which really fits in well with all the other windows that we've got here. And throughout the house, you'll notice we've got little nods to that black of the exterior with little accents here and there, and obviously the Crittles door is one of those. So another one of those details is the black spindles on the stairs. And I just want to take a moment to tell you about the stairs. So the spindles, we went with black, which again is a nod to the black cladding and all the other black accents that we've got in the house. This was a labour of love, these stairs. It was really difficult to get anybody that would make them for us. We knew exactly what we wanted. I didn't want to go for anything that was too contemporary or too overcomplicated in this area. I knew I wanted something that was a classic style that would last. With that in mind, we eventually found somebody who would take on the job, a wonderful joiner who did all this for us. It was a little bit of a collaboration, really. The main stairs were NDF. Our lovely joiner came in and did the rest of the work for us, which involved him forming this beautiful curved handrail, oak handrail, and the spindles and the treads. And the treads are the same wooden flooring as we have throughout the rest of the house, so a lovely light engineered oak. And we've also introduced a mirror in the hallway here, which not only is practical in terms of checking ourselves before we leave the door, we also get the joy of seeing the stairs twice and from a different angle, which I absolutely love. So coming through from the hallway, we come into the kitchen. We've used a lot of light oaks throughout the rest of the house, but here I felt like that wouldn't particularly work, and I thought the kitchen might get a little bit lost. I wanted it to have its own moment to shine, really. So we looked at lots of different shades of oak and really loved this darker, warmer tone. I think it works really well. It still connects to the rest of the house, but it allows the kitchen to have its own little moment. We went for a very pared back Scandi style, little nod to mid-century in here. I didn't want anything too fussy or too complicated. And on first appearances, it might look quite plain and pared back, but there are a few little surprises in here, which obviously I'll talk you through in a bit. Top of the list was an island, a large island with lots of workspace. We had spent 4 years living in the bungalow, and we had just a tiny little kitchen with no workspace and 2 little rings. So it was really an absolute dream to have something as big as this. I wanted to go for drawer units here rather than cupboards, because I find cupboards quite difficult to organise and find things in, whereas these work really well, and I think a really good aesthetic for the look of the island. It's not an overly generous sized room, and we were a little bit concerned it might be a little bit narrow. So I didn't want to have wall cupboards in here. I felt it would feel a little bit too closed in. So instead, we've gone for a floating shelf, which I know is a bit contentious with a lot of people. What I love about this is the fact that we can style it up. We can change the look of the whole room by putting different things on here. I've got things like a little pestle and mortar, which used to be my grandmother's, which I love having out. Vintage Denby teapot, lots of other bits and pieces. It's also practical as well, because I have the cups and teapot here all ready to use with the hot water tap. This was something that was on the list as well. It frees up so much space. Don't have to have a kettle. So having my little teapot here is brilliant, because it's all ready to make cups of tea. So another thing that was really important in the kitchen was the lighting. Not a big fan of spotlights. We had a lot of spotlights in our last home, and I've always regretted it because we never have them on. So we went with these wall lights, which I always get asked a lot about on my Instagram. These were really one of the things that inspired the kitchen. I love the angle of them. And again, we've gone with a warm brass tone on these, which matches really nicely with the tap. So as well as the wall lights, we've got lighting under the floating shelf. And when it came to lighting the island, I really didn't want to go for anything that was too bulky or too in the eye line. At the end of the day, it's all about keeping these views out into the garden. So we've gone with a linear light, which this particular light's really nice. It has various different settings on it, so we can have it warm or cool. And it really is a great way to light the area, but without detracting from what is the star of the show, and that's the outside again. So on this side of the island, slightly different to the other where we went with drawers, we've gone with cupboards here. And throughout the whole of the kitchen, I really didn't want to have handles as such. And I didn't want a handleless kitchen, which I thought would possibly look a little bit too modern. The kitchen company that we worked with, Anthony Lewis, who were a brilliant kitchen company and spent a lot of time on the little details, they came up with these really great pull handles, and they just literally just disappear into the design of the kitchen, really part of the design of the kitchen. And we've followed those through onto the back wall here with the same pull handles. And I think I mentioned to you before that on first glance, the kitchen does look quite pared back and plain, but it does have a few little surprises, and this is one of them. So this is one of my favourite features in the kitchen, and that's our hidden breakfast cupboard, which has this amazing fold back door, which completely sits back into the carcass and leaves it all open, ready to use. So there's one more little surprise with this wall, and behind here hides our utility, and we really didn't want to break up the space with a door, so we came up with this design where, for all intents and purposes, it just looks like a bank of cupboards here, but this particular cupboard is a secret door through to the utility. So this is our utility slash Bootility. It's a utility and boot room. It's only a very small space, but we've managed to pack everything in that we need to. We've got a washer dryer and space for our muddy boots when we come in from the garden. It does what it says on the tin, really. So coming back out of the utility into the kitchen, something I didn't mention earlier on was the flooring that we've used throughout the house. And in the kitchen and the entrance, we've gone for a large format porcelain tile, which is really practical, particularly living in the countryside. We can come in, we can keep it clean, we can wash it, mop it. Same with the kitchen. We wanted something that was practical here and in the utility. So in the living spaces, we wanted to go for something that was a little bit warmer and more natural. And we've gone with a wide board engineered oak, which works really well with the underfloor heating that we have on the ground level. Rather than going for a normal oak board, we've actually had these whitewashed. We worked with a company called WFA Flooring, and they were really good, offering a bespoke service to have the colour that we wanted. Our experience of oak boards in our last home was that they started to yellow quite significantly with too much light on them, and obviously this is a very light space here, so having the white washed through them keeps them nice and light and prevents all that yellowing that can happen. So the dining area is quite a minimal look. It's basically just the dining table and the chairs, which is all you want when you've got people here. It's all about the company. It's right next to the kitchen, so if I'm cooking, I can still be here listening to the conversation and being part of it. I love to mix old and new, and we've done it a lot throughout the house. We've got these vintage Urkel chairs, which sit really nicely with these classic wishbone chairs. So at the moment, we've just got this set up for 6, but this is an extending table. So when we have family and friends, we can seat up to 12 people here. It's a great social space. So from the dining room, we come into the living area, and this is a space that we spend most of our evenings. We wanted to have a really cosy feel in here, somewhere that we felt that we could relax at the end of the day. And one of the main features in here is the hearth and the fireplace. When we were doing the build, we asked the builder whether or not he would be interested in trying to do this for us. He'd never done one before and was quite happy to take it on. In hindsight, probably should have formed it in situ, but he didn't. He built it and then offered it up. And as they were bringing it in and putting it in place, disaster struck and it cracked. So the builder being the builder, he had plenty to get on with, and so it was left to us to try and repair it and sort it. So I took on the challenge and spent many days sanding and polishing, and you wouldn't even know that there was a crack there now. It worked out fine in the end. And what I do love about this hearth is that it's not that perfect piece of concrete. It's not beautifully polished. It's got detail, it's got flaws, it's also got a story, which is brilliant. So we absolutely love it. We're not precious about it at all. So we wanted to keep a nice cosy feel in here. So we've introduced lots of soft textiles and layering, including the rug, which not only breaks up the space, but it also anchors the furniture here and helps to zone the area. So something else that we've introduced into this room to give it some character is the panelling. And there's so many beautiful types of panelling around, but I wanted to go for something that was more in keeping with that Scandi feel. So we've gone for a wide shiplap panelling here. I think it really helps to add depth and interest to the room, but without making it too fussy. Little touches like the shelf, so again we can have our personal items on there. It's a really good way to style things up and change the feel of the room is with soft furnishings. So in the autumn we might have these sorts of colours and tones, but in the summer we might lighten that up with some greens. I think having that neutral palette really helps when you want to inject some freshness. So lastly, on the ground floor, there's just one more room to show you. And this is a room that we designed as sort of a flexible space, really. Initially, we thought it would be great to future-proof ourselves and have a room that we could have as a bedroom and a shower room, which is adjacent to it, if ever we needed ground floor living. Of course, we're not actually at that stage yet, thank goodness. So in the meantime, we're using this as our little breakout space. So we have yoga in here, we do our workouts in here. It's also become the plant hospital for any of the plants that aren't doing so well around the house. So please don't look too closely. These are still in intensive care, these plants. So this is the shower room that I mentioned, and this always takes people a little bit by surprise when they come in here, because compared to the rest of the house, which is all light and airy and neutral, in here we've gone for a sort of dark, moody feel. And one of the things that is always a talking point is the black loo, which some people absolutely love and some people absolutely hate. So using warm brass fittings and hardware and the textured tiles really stops this room from looking cold. So the house was really designed around this view. We always knew that the view of the Shropshire Hills was something that we wanted to bring into the house, and this window frames it perfectly. It was a mammoth feat to get it in. It's 3 meters square, and it took about 4 or 5 guys and a crane to get it up there. But I absolutely love this view. It's a real pause moment when we come to the top of the stairs. It's like an ever-changing piece of artwork. I absolutely love watching the seasons change through this window. Even on a daily basis, it changes. Building your own home gives you an opportunity to be able to include features that you wouldn't normally see in homes. I really wanted to have some great circulation space here. I think it can be quite undervalued, and it really does help the rooms connect and flow and gives a sense of calm to the space. Coming from the landing, we come into our upstairs living room, and the joy of building your own home is that you can create spaces that work for you. And for us, we didn't really want to waste these amazing views on a bedroom where we wouldn't have spent much time and we wouldn't have got to see them. Having an upstairs living room is a brilliant way for us to enjoy these views and connect with outside. So we wanted to keep this room quite understated. At the end of the day, we don't want it to compete with the view. The view is the most important thing. So we've gone quite pared back in here, again with a neutral colour tone. Introduced some nice soft furnishings and some layering. We've also managed to add a small balcony, which is a great little space. It's a brilliant place to sit and have a cup of coffee in the mornings or a cheeky G&T in the evenings, and we can just sit and enjoy the views. So this is our main guest room, and we wanted to create a welcoming and relaxing environment in here. These rooms are all at the back of the house, so we have dormer windows, floor to ceiling dormer windows. Again, every space has that view out somewhere, but it's also created this slope in the ceiling, which I think really adds some character. And alongside that, we've also got the glulam beam, which runs throughout the whole of this side of the house as well. And this beam's actually a structural beam. It's part of the SIP's roof. So rather than hiding it away, we really wanted to let it have its moment to shine, and I think it really adds some character and depth to this room. Another way of adding character which often need in a new build, is the panelling. And this is just an MDF panelling that we had rooted out. I always get asked on Instagram what colour this wall is. This is slate lime deep from Little Green Paint Company. This bed is another thing that I always get asked about a lot on my Instagram account. It's quite an old bed actually, but I do love it. It's a really nice linen textured headboard, and following through with that to create that nice cosy nest environment in here, we've used lots of textures, soft textiles, wools, cottons, linens, and a really nice bed throw. This bed throw is a gorgeous bed throw. It's from house number 9 and it's beautiful. Again, we've got all the engineered oak flooring throughout the whole of the upstairs, but we've softened that by using sheepskins and hides. As a guest room, I think it's important to make your guests feel at home, so we've got little touches like the bathrobes, and I always like to have a little basket of goodies here, essentials that guests might have forgotten, like shampoos and toothbrushes and things like that. So it all goes together to make that really warm, inviting space that guests can feel relaxed in. So now I'm going to take you into the main bedroom. Just on the right here is the guest bathroom. So this is our main bedroom, and we wanted somewhere we could retreat to at the end of the day, somewhere that was calm and relaxing. So we've gone with a very neutral colour palette in here, but we've warmed it up with soft textiles again. We've got cottons and velvets, which I love at this time of the year, and a lovely deep luxurious bed throw. As with the guest room, we panelled this wall, but rather than going for a full height panel, we've just done a half height and added a little shelf, which I think works really well in here. It's not an overly generous room, so it's quite nice to have somewhere to put our little treasures. Again, it's brilliant for styling up and adding seasonal touches. So if you want to change it up for the spring or summer or autumn, we can always just change things and move things around. So we don't have a lot of space for a large bedside table here, and I didn't want to clutter the space up with table lamps. So instead I went with these lovely drop pendant lights, which give a really nice glow, and I think add a little bit of character to the room as well. And at the same time, it keeps that bedside table nice and clear for all the things that we actually want to put on there. Again, we have a large picture window here connecting us to the outside. It's a beautiful place to wake up in the morning. We open the blind, we never know what's going to be out there. Beautiful sunny day, or like today where it's not looking quite as glamorous, but even still, it's a great way to wake up in the morning. When it is really hot and sunny in here, it can get quite warm and the sun can be quite intense. So a recent addition are these voile curtains that we've put here, which really help to screen that harsh sunlight, and I think also add a nice soft feminine touch to the room. Something else I always get asked about on Instagram is the light fitting in here. This is actually an IKEA lampshade. It's pennies. I think they're probably about £12. But I love the light that it casts. It's like having a big cloud up there. We don't often have the light on. We tend to just have the bedside lights, but when we do, it's a really nice textural piece. So the last thing I want to talk about is the mirror in here, which really opens up the space and gives us double that beautiful view. So this is our ensuite, which leads off the main bedroom. And we wanted this to be a calming retreat, a sanctuary at the end of the day, somewhere where you could come and relax. I think the hero of the space really is the freestanding bath. I'd always wanted a freestanding stone bath, and obviously this is a perfect place for it. Again, the star of the show is the views. We've also added some light oak panelling here, and we've kept everything off the floor. It's not an overly generous space. As well as having the floating vanity, we've gone for a wall hung loo, which again keeps the floor clear, and introducing lighting behind the mirror and under the vanity unit. Again, it's layering those lights and creating that warmth and cozy feel in here, almost like a spa vibe really. We've used a large format tile in here, which the Mandarin stone cast sand. Downstairs we used cast white. Here we've used cast sand. It's got a slightly warmer tone to it. And we've continued that into the shower. The shower screen, again, we wanted to inject some texture and movement into this room. So rather than going with just plain glass, we chose the reeded glass. Absolutely love reeded glass. I would use it everywhere if I could. I really like it. But what's great about this is it also ties in with the pocket doors that we've got leading into the ensuite and the dressing room. So again, it's keeping that flow and that cohesion of texture and movement. I also think it works really well with the oak panelling, the vertical lines. I love the way that marries. So as well as the warm wood that we've got here on the back of the vanity, we've added some little shelves here, which I think pair really well with this oak. I love these little shelves. They're from a company called Wooden Dot, and they're called the Pelican Shelf. And they're really cute, really nice design. And I love the fact that they've got the little hidden hooks underneath, which are really handy for putting all your bits and pieces on. Thanks, Luxury Home Show. I hope you enjoyed the tour. If you want to see more of the house, then please feel free to check out my Instagram account, which is Tall Trees and Scandi Dreams. And I hope to see you soon. Bye.
Hi Luxury Home Show, I'm Laura, a designer and founder of Grove England. Welcome to my home in the Cotswolds. Come on in.